Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion. I'm your host, Dr. Franklin Rule, and today we're going to investigate Tibetan mind creatures known as tulpas, tell you about the first man to die pursuing a UFO, reveal the truth about Robin Hood, tell you some secrets about this critter right here, the Parasaurolophus, and also tell you how parapsychologists are using past life regression to help people with physical and mental ailments they're suffering in today's lives. But first, the tulpas, the Tibetan mind creatures. We have a great deal of evidence that creatures are actually being created through mind power. Back in 1917 at the University of Paris, Dr. Charles Richet studied one woman who was gifted in Tibetan mysticism and found that she could create a tulpa. Using ancient Tibetan meditation techniques, the mystic was able over time to actually construct a female creature who was a flesh and blood living thing. Dr. Richet was able to feel this creature, who he claimed felt warm to the touch and actually breathed. He was even able to snip off a lock of her hair as proof of her existence. This creature, created by the mystic, is called a tulpa, a mind creature, a being built by the imagination, molecule by molecule, layer by layer, until it has become a real living thing. Tibetan holy men such as lamas have conjured these creatures for centuries. Sometimes these tulpas take the forms of humans, sometimes animals. Once constructed, these creatures can talk and move about, and they have another characteristic. Tulpas are able to create other tulpas as well, who can then create other tulpas, and so on and so on. Obviously, tulpas are very difficult to destroy once created. For example, consider the case of Alexandra David Nell, a Western woman who spent 14 years in Tibet. She was a rarity, a Western woman who had become a lama. Once she created her own tulpa, it took her about 6 months to do so. The entity that she conjured up was a chubby little monk. He was friendly at first, but in time, he took on a personality of his own, becoming malevolent. He even changed his shape from fat to thin. It took her about 6 months to destroy him layer by layer. Now, it's also theorized that some lamas may have created the Yeti or abominable snowman as a tulpa in order to frighten away outsiders. Consider that, and when we return, the story of the first man to die pursuing a UFO. You've got to see this. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the case of the first man to die pursuing a UFO. Dateline, January 7th, 1948, Fort Knox, Kentucky, about 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Civilian reports began trickling in that a UFO was overhead. The State Highway Patrol also spotted the object. They contacted the Fort Knox Military Police, who also spotted it. Gedman Field nearby was contacted. Every man there, from the lowest to the highest ranking officer, spotted this enormous UFO. It was a huge UFO, 250 to 300 feet in diameter, with a circular appearance and moving westward at what was described as a pretty good clip. Just at this time, a contingent of 4 planes, P-51s from Marietta, Georgia, were flying in to land at Louisville, Kentucky for refueling. They were asked to look for the object in the sky. 1 man had to go in for refueling, 2 others started in the pursuit, but also needed more fuel. But one pilot, the flight leader, Captain Thomas Mantell, said he spotted it. He ascended into the sky. He described the object as enormous in size and metallic in structure. His final message, "I'm going in for a closer look." That was at about 15,000 feet. 5 minutes later, Mantell had crashed to the ground. Now, some say they saw his plane explode in the sky, suggesting that he was blasted out by a UFO. His remains were scattered on the ground, and nothing which could prove what he had seen up there was recoverable from the debris. Now, initially, the Air Force claimed that the object was a weather balloon, and they kept to that story until 1964, when they themselves debunked their own cover story. At that time, the government changed its cover story to claim that Mantell was actually pursuing the planet Venus. However, on January 7th, 1948, Venus was only half its maximum brightness and should not have fooled any veteran pilot. I should point out Mantell was no rookie. He had flown over 100 combat missions during World War II. Mantell said quite crisply, quite clearly, "I'm going in for a closer look." If he's starting to black out, I suggest that he might have started to slur his speech and say something like, "I'm going in for a closer look," before crashing. That did not happen. This is one of the strongest cases in the annals of ufology. I say it still remains an unsolved mystery, and we can check out some of its aspects to prove its validity. Turning now from Middle America to Middle England, we reveal the truth about Robin Hood. But first, the trivia question of the day for you. Let me extricate it here from its paper prison. The question: in the 1922 silent film, The Adventures of Robin Hood, Douglas Fairbanks starred as Robin. Which well-known actor portrayed King Richard? A hint: he went on to become famous in the talkies and won the Oscar for Best Actor in 1931. Now, this is such a tough one, I'm going to award 2 pats on the back. Of course, you have to give those to yourself if and only if you have the correct answer. I'll take a sip of water and be back momentarily. Okay, time is up again. Who starred as King Richard in the 1922 version of Robin Hood? It was Wallace Beery, who won the 1931 Academy Award for his role in the movie The Champ. Now, the truth about Robin Hood: he was no hero. He actually robbed from both the rich and the poor to give to himself. We believe he's a man known as the Earl of Huntington. He was known as Robin Hood because he wore a monk's cowl, sort of a hood to disguise himself. He did have a companion named Little John, but far from being a jolly giant, this man was a cruel murderer. He once killed a monk, then beheaded the monk's servant who had witnessed the crime. But he was quite cunning. He once extricated Robin from Nottingham Prison. Now, Nottingham Prison and Sherwood Forest did indeed exist, but not Maid Marian. She's actually the heroine of a poem that was written 200 years later. She had a beau named Robin. As far as Friar Tuck, he existed 200 years later also. He operated his own band of thieves about 100 miles outside of Sherwood Forest. And by the way, there were no Moors in Sherwood Forest. That's pure movie mythology. Now let's take a look at the fictional Robin in action.
Yes, I'm all right, yes, sir.
That was actor Richard Green portraying Robin Hood. Now, as promised, the secrets of the Parasaurolophus. By the way, that name means the beside-ridged lizard. That's because he has ridges on both sides of his back here. Parasaurolophus stood 20 feet tall, the equivalent of a 2-story building. He weighed 2 to 3 tons. The length from the tip of his tail to the tip of his nose was 33 feet. Geographically, he was found in North America, Central America, South America, Europe, and Asia. He was a friendly plant eater, a herbivore. He stood on his hind legs, much like a kangaroo when he ate, but when pursued by a predator, such as Tyrannosaurus Rex, he would get down on all fours. His hind legs were paddle-like, suggesting that he might have been able to enter the water and at least swim for a short while. And the most amazing fact about him was this cranial crest, which could reach an outstanding length of 6 feet. What was the purpose of that unusual crest? It was initially thought that since he could enter the water, it might be like a snorkel, allowing him to submerge under the water with air coming through the back of it. However, that's not the case. There is no air hole in this cranial crest, so it's not a snorkel. Another possibility is thought perhaps it just abetted his olfactory sensation, allowed him to smell better. No way. Even though it appears to attach to his nose, it's not connected. The current thinking regarding this cranial crest is that it was purely decorative in nature. In other words, to attract a mate, similar to many birds who have very fancy crests on their heads today. So there you have it. All the facts about the Parasaurolophus for your consideration. Now, when we return, some incredible footage of microbes who actually devour oil. You've got to see this. Welcome back. Today, landfills around the country are reaching capacity, and nobody wants a new one built in his backyard. So what is the solution? Well, one imaginative man has come up with the red worm bin. This is a bin of red worms that you would keep in your kitchen, which will devour all sorts of garbage. Now, I admit, they're not pretty to look at, but they're quiet, clean, efficient, and they don't bite. And if you're a fisherman, after they've had their fill, you can attach them to your line, take them out on a boat, and possibly catch some fish with them. On another ecological front, oil spills represent major catastrophes for both man and animal alike. Researchers at Lockheed's Missile and Space Marine Systems Division have come up with a new method to help clean up oil spills using oil-eating microbes. This technique has been tried before unsuccessfully because the microbes need oxygen to survive and could not get through the liquid oil to breathe. Lockheed, however, with their new process called Pristine C, seems to have perfected the technique. Their process uses a combination of microbes, fertilizer, and clay. As you can see, once the microbes and the clay are applied, the clay causes the oil to curdle into cakes, therefore allowing the microbes to get to the surface for oxygen. The caking also allows for much less dangerous and much simpler cleanups by turning the oil into a solid for easy removal. As far as drawbacks go, there don't seem to be any. After the oil is consumed, the microbes simply die and sink to the ocean bottom. In the future, I believe that DNA engineering will allow us to create not only microbes that devour oil, but also those that will consume all types of waste, such as radioactive waste and medical waste. I think that science can help fight our ecological problems. Next up, the bizarre world of medicine. As you know, I'm a PhD, not an MD, but I've always been intrigued by bizarre medicine. Let's see what's in the little black bag today. Aha, a $1 bill. This reminds me of the case of George Washington's sore throat. Back in the night of December 13, 1799, Washington came down with a severe sore throat. He summoned his doctor, who proceeded to give him an injection of mercury, gave him mercury by mouth, bled him 4 times with leeches, and finally gave him a concoction to drink that consisted of hot vinegar and beetles. Finally, Washington said, "No more, I'd sooner die." At 10 p.m. the next night, December 14th, 1799, the father of our country died of a sore throat. My question, of course, could they not have just given him some salt water to gargle? Now, on a lighter note, we've sent our intrepid reporter, Dennis, to Boulder, Colorado, to inspect the inner workings of the atomic clock. Take it away, Dennis.
Thank you, Dr. Rule. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, standing outside the Boulder Laboratories. Inside is the Institute for Standards and Technology. Now, at one time, we've all gone to set our watches, and we usually call that nice little old time lady on the telephone. But where does she call to set her watch? Well, chances are she'd call right here. Inside is one of the most accurate clocks in the world. Let's take a look. The atomic clock is a device for measuring time intervals by the frequency of electromagnetic waves given off by atoms or molecules. Atomic clocks control the time signals sent out to the world from national laboratories, such as the one here at the National Bureau of Standards. In 1964, scientists throughout the world adopted the vibration rate of an atomic clock as the standard for defining time units. Well, there you have it. I've learned a lot of things today, but the most frustrating thing I learned was that my watch was 1/6,000th of a second off. Back to you, Dr. Rule.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Another excellent report. Next on deck, how parapsychologists are using past life regression to help people solve their mental and physical ills in their current life. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Time now for past life regression. Many parapsychologists today are regressing individuals to past lives to help them solve their mental and physical problems. The theory is that some trauma they suffered in a past incarnation may be adversely affecting them either mentally or physically today. I've spoken to a number of them. Their logbooks are full of good cases. In one instance, a woman came in with a limp to a parapsychologist's office. The doctors could find nothing wrong with her left leg. Upon regression, it was determined that she had been a Spanish gypsy dancer. The Inquisition condemned her first to having her legs broken, then executing her. When she learned this, she is able to walk out of the office with no limp. A woman, a career woman, was just given a promotion that would entail extensive flying, but she had agoraphobia, a fear of heights. Past life regression revealed that she had been a Polynesian teenager who had been cast off a cliff as a sacrifice to a god. Now let's watch past life regression in action with one of the best in the business, Dr. Edith Fiore, author of the book, You Have Been Here Before. Roll tape.
4, 5. And I'd like you to go to the morning of the last day of your life. What's happening?
They're mounting an offensive. You can hear them. Artillery's firing. You wait.
Where are you now?
In the trench.
What are you thinking at this very moment?
Scared.
You're really feeling very, very scared?
Yes.
What have you seen happen so far?
They're coming.
You can see them coming?
Shooting. Are they coming?
What happened? What are you experiencing?
I was shot.
What are you aware of now?
Peaceful.
As you look back on your life as Henry, what comes to mind?
The futility. The total uselessness of killing.
Skeptics claim that these individuals are actually experiencing a memory from childhood, such as from a book they've read or a movie they saw. I say that it does not really matter. If the individual's helped by this therapy, then it's secondary whether it's a legitimate past life memory or a memory from childhood. Now, if you have a question for us or an answer, for example, an intriguing fact you've uncovered, please call us at our toll-free 800 number. That's 1-800-45-RULE, R-U-E-H-L. Now, until next time, may the power of the universe be with you.